It's bad. Anime.
Hello, everybody. I'm John.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Bad Anime, the podcast where we decide, is this anime bad? And today, we are actually doing a podcast of my recommendation.
We're doing this again, and I love how you keep throwing more stuff at me. I knew nothing about this going in, except the only thing you told me is it's getting traction. I'm like, okay. And you're like, let's do 3 episodes. Okay.
Yep. I think... kind of no. In line with what I usually recommend, it is usually a series that is very popular, very surface level, and very low-hanging fruit. And today, I've seen a lot of people talking about this show. I've been talked to about this show quite a lot.
Okay.
When I was at Crunchyroll Expo in San Jose.
Which we have to talk about more in depth at some point.
We do. I have stories. And there was one point where people were talking about Ranking of Kings, and I kept hearing about this show continuously because it premiered like October 2021.
Right.
And it ran through the first season March 2022.
Okay.
So relatively recent.
Yeah.
And I kept hearing about it for its entire run. So I was like, all right, let's maybe get into it. Let's see if it's any good. Let's hit it with the old 3-episode rule, baby.
I love when we do this.
Yeah. So we got to like check out the first 3 episodes and see if we want to stick with it or see if we don't want to stick with it. And I think this one was particularly interesting because of all the things I was hearing about it from people, but also on TikTok, but also in different like Reddit communities and whatnot. It's really been everywhere. It's getting memed out the ass too.
I could see that. Based on the first 3 episodes alone, I can immediately see why people would meme the absolute balls out of this one.
Right. It makes sense because it is like, I gotta say first off, to get into it here.
Let's just go dive right in.
Let's just dive right in. It is very visually appealing.
You think so?
I think so.
It's very bright and colorful. That's what I've noticed. And there was definitely an element of, let's just say they emphasize visual storytelling more so over dialogue in some cases. There's a very heavily reliance on motion instead of plot, which I did enjoy.
Which makes a lot of sense because like the main character Boji is mute, and also deaf.
Yep. So he just spends the entire show kind of wailing.
So you kind of have to.
You kind of have to listen,
emphasize everything else but sound.
Yo, so that's our fucking Boji.
Boji.
First off, once I heard the main character's name, I just started laughing a little bit. But by the end of the 3rd episode, I'm like, Boji!
Let's fucking go, Boji! Boji is also the first thing I noticed, and the thing that I didn't stop noticing, which they make very clear to you, is that Boji is very small.
He is tiny.
Even for a child, he is very, very small.
And it is also... It's just further emphasized by the fact his father is a literal giant.
Yeah, his dad. Every time Boji has a scene with his dad, who's King Boss, I believe.
Yep.
Every time they have a scene, Boji just crawls into this man's hand.
Yes. And like he fits like on the tip of his finger, the same way like a speck of dirt or dust, or in my case, buffalo sauce would fit on my finger.
Buffalo.
I have a very particular like method to the madness that is my life.
Are you okay? Sorry to take things off track.
It's fine.
Wings.
Yeah.
How do you like them? What sauce do you want on them?
I'm usually just a buffalo medium kind of guy.
Buffalo medium.
Yeah, just a medium.
I respect that.
Medium buffalo. That. I'm not too adventurous. Sometimes, if I'm in like a wing place, I know that it's quality. I'll throw some of them. Maybe throw in some garlic parm.
Oh, okay, very nice. Like a Buffalo Wild Wings garlic parm.
That shit's so good.
It's so delicious.
I don't mean to discredit everywhere else that does it, but the best garlic parm wing sauce I've had is probably a Buffalo Wild Wings. It's just fucking fire. It is so creamy. It's so garlicky. It's got a little bit of heat to it, which I need. And yeah, that's just legitimately the best garlic parm sauce I've had. I've even one point tried to recreate it at home. I saw a bunch of YouTube cooks making it. I'm like, I don't have these ingredients.
I don't have any of that.
I could go buy it, but I didn't.
There you go.
I just kept going to Buffalo Wild
Wings. Just kept going. And that, everybody, concludes our ad for Buffalo Wild Wings. Back to the show.
That segment was sponsored to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. Eat our food. No, don't go to that one. It's closed. Don't go to the one next to that one. That one's also closed. Go to the one 3 towns from you. That one's still open somehow.
Probably. And by Kraft American Singles. Is it cheese?
Is it cheese?
No.
Oh. So Boji's a boy.
Boji's a small boy.
He's a prince.
He probably likes chicken wings. I would say he's a garlic parm kind of guy.
He seems like a mild guy.
Mild. Give him the mild.
He might even like the dry rub on there.
He could like a dry rub.
Okay. Okay, I wondered which ones were to crack first. Had the phrase dry rub.
Just the
and I was
worst
happy that it wasn't me.
dry rub. Sent me back, baby. All the way to middle school. Sorry, yeah, Boji. So
Boji touched me in the bathroom.
gave me a dry rub in the back of the Buffalo Wild Wings. Sorry. So
Wait, okay, this episode has just been a cry for help. We're gonna come back in 3, 2, 1.
and you know who consistently cries for help? Boji, because that's all he can do.
Well, he doesn't even really do that. Funny enough,
Yeah, he doesn't.
He's just kind of generally speaking, he's a determined little fuck, but in the best of ways, he's very bright-eyed, little naive, and
He kind of like fits the role. To me, it kind of fits the role of classic anime protagonist, but with a little bit of like a swing to it, because he doesn't exactly have a lot of advantages in his life, even though he is, storyline wise, he is the prince of the kingdom of King Boss, who is ranked number 7, I believe, in the ranking of kings.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's the whole underlying. It's kind of like it's more the setting more so than the straightforward narrative. It's just this or that, and the kind of the background motivation is that Boji wants to be king, and he wants to be the highest ranking of the kings.
Exactly.
They don't really go too deep in these 3 episodes about how the king ranking system is determined.
Right.
What I kind of liked, it's
good.
It let us get to know the characters first before it went too heavy with the story.
Exactly, because it really did. Like, these first 3 episodes really did dive into those characters a lot, which I thought was pretty exciting. You know, me being somebody that loves a plot line, even though I was like, wow, okay, every episode felt like a very intentional, like, okay, we're focusing on Boji for this episode.
Yes.
We're focusing on Kage
Yep.
for the second episode. And the third episode is kind of more of a deep dive into the inner workings of the princedom and the kingdom.
Exactly. You learn about the dynamics between Boji and his younger brother
Daida.
I was about to say Daimon. I'm like, no, that's not right. Daida.
God, Joffrey ass motherfucker.
Okay, so there was big Joffrey Lannister energy there with that one. Big Joffrey Baratheon. Sorry.
Joffrey Baratheon, yeah. Well, same but different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
6 to 1, half dozen the other.
Boji is doesn't look as inbred as Daida.
No.
But he is the son of the king, and then Prince Daida, his younger brother, but is also taller than him, is the son of the King Boss, but also King Boss has a new wife, who's blonde. I don't remember her name in particular.
Helena?
Helena,
something like that.
I think something like that. Helena. I think it was Helena.
I think I think that's a My Chemical Romance song.
Helena. Maybe
it was either Helena or something. I don't remember. But anyway, let's just call her Helena.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, Helena's Boss's new queen, and it's shown in a scene I really liked. I think it might have been the 3rd episode. They showed a great scene where she was really trying to get along with Boji. But then eventually she got pregnant with Daida and just kind of like, kind of threw Boji to the side. You might call it cliche. I understand that. But, I guess I was in the right frame of mind when I was watching these 3 episodes, and I'm like, okay, getting a little tug on my heartstrings there. Good job ranking.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. They did a lot of tugging on heartstrings because I think they did a really good job with each episode of the first 3 of kind of putting it on a character. Like, as I mentioned, the first episode was very Boji-centric.
It was very Boji-centric, just kind of getting across who he is, the fact that he is deaf and mute, and the fact that he wants to be king. You learn about him really through Kage, who is part of the Shadow Clan. So picture this, everybody. He's a black puddle with arms.
He's basically an unknown from Pokemon.
Yes, but who slides around on the ground.
Yeah.
And he has, like, appendages that pop out of said ground. They think he's an assassin at first, but no, he tries to mug Boji.
Yes, he basically tries to mug Boji, but then he realizes that Boji can't talk.
Yeah.
But Boji can understand what he's saying by his movements from his shadow mouth.
Yeah.
So Boji picks up on what he's saying and starts to kind of enjoy his company, Kage's company, because Kage is the first person to really care about Boji and take an interest, even if that interest is, I want to rip you off.
And also just to treat Boji like a person instead of just like an affliction.
Right.
Because, since he's deaf and mute, people kind of like stop treating him like an actual person.
Right. And since he's also the prince, like, I imagine a lot of people don't really want to get involved with the royal family stuff.
A lot of coddling in Boji's life. So he forms a genuine connection with the guy who's trying to mug him. So,
and he mugs him in probably the funniest of ways, because he's like, "Hey kid, you got any money?" And Boji's like, "Nah." And he's like, "Well, I see you got clothes on. I'll just take all of your clothes. And Boji's like, yeah, sure, dude. And Boji just
excitedly strips.
Very excitingly strips for this black puddle, and he gives him all of his clothing, and then Boji walks home naked like 3 times.
Yeah, because he just keeps coming back to give him more clothes, and the Kage's like, he's a good kid.
Yeah, like this kid's nice.
Yeah, this kid's a good kid.
He actually just genuinely enjoys hanging out with me, even though I sell all of his royal clothing.
Yeah, exactly. So he gets by with selling the royal clothing, and then I forget how certain events transpire.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually comes to, so by the first episode, by the time it ends, we learn a lot about actually, Kage is very useful in the first episode because he'd repeat everything Boji said to him. It's like, what, you're saying this?
Exactly.
Then cite the line of dialogue, and Boji was excited to go, So that was the first episode. And then the second episode, they gave us Kage's backstory, and I that's when I got interested. I'm like, damn it. Because the first episode, I was kind of sitting there going, all right, it's cute. Pretty.
Right.
I see how people like it. Dozing off a little bit. Second episode, they show Kage's backstory about his family of assassins, and then gets brutally killed in front of them.
And that is actually a note for the future about this show too, because at least in the conversations I've had with people, I spoke with a friend of mine a week ago. Right? I have a friend.
Whoa!
I know. Outside of this, right?
Humble brag.
Sorry, bro. I just have other friends, you know? But I
can't wait to go to the bathroom later and cry.
Yeah, and touch dicks. What? I talked to this guy a week ago. And we were chatting, and I was like, hey, you know, like, I watched the first 3 episodes of Ranking of Kings, and I feel like this show has the ability to get very violent very soon. And he was like, yo, actually, just wait, because you're right. And I was like, oh, because the first episode didn't really have much in the way of like violence, but this Kage episode had a lot of like blood and stuff, and he was like, Kage, of course, like he was running away with his mom, and then they got cornered by a bunch of people that looked like Alpha 9 from Darling in the Franxx, and they were all like,
any blonde pretentious anime character is now Alpha 9 to you.
Exactly.
Iota.
And they were
picture a bunch of Alpha 9s on horseback, and they stab this poor creature to death.
Yeah, and it looks so sad when they kill a black puddle, because when they kill like anybody from the Shadow Clan, they just turn into like a sad pancake.
Yeah. And a sad burnt pancake.
It is very heart-wrenching. Even though it's not like a human being killed, it's like a small black pancake. Yeah. But it's still at the same time, it is so like sad to see.
Right.
And of course, like Kage's running away, and Kage's just a child, and he's running away, and these people protect him and say that he ran into the woods, when in reality he's just like in the girl's shadow, in this little girl's shadow. And the Iotas come up. I mean the alphas. The alphas come up, and they're like, "Have you seen
the 9s? You mean
the 9s? Yeah,
if we're gonna keep the joke going, I want to make sure it's consistent.
Thank you so much.
So 02 gets out of the Darling. Boku no Darling da.
So all of the 9s come up to them, and they're like, where is that shadow monster? Did you see where it went? And they're all, and the old man and the little girl are like, no, it probably went into that dark forest. And they're like, well, we're not going in there. So then they all turn tail and leave. And then when
you
they
sound
leave,
like Little Karibo's version of
Tristan Timothy Taylor. I actually was talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged yesterday, so that did come up.
Really?
I was. A friend of mine.
What was this? Did you have this conversation in 2009?
Was yesterday 2009? Possibly.
I don't know.
Possibly. I did listen to a lot of My Chemical Romance yesterday, so I mean, it does check out.
Joke's on you. Everyone in this podcast is actually recorded in 2010, so we're guessing on everything that's happening right now.
We read the manga.
Yeah. Future.
So back to this back to the stabbing that occurred. So the 9s, they see the old man and the little girl, then they turn away, and then when they turn away, Kage sees his mom stabbed through her eye, being carried away,
impaled on the spear.
Oh my god, it was so and he starts to wail and cry. And the girl next to him starts to cry to cover it up the sound. I was like, oh my God. And then Kage finds himself in another town/city.
Yeah.
And he starts hanging out with this guy. He meets this guy at a bar, I guess.
Yeah.
And this guy wants to use him to commit like crimes
Yeah.
and, you know, steal
and he's giving
money.
like scraps of food in exchange and a place to sleep.
And he gives him like nothing. But the craziest part about that whole thing was that like Kage was getting treated like shit. He made like maybe 1/30th of everything that he did for this man, like money wise. And like at night when they're both sleeping, like he's like touching this man's hand. He like feels he's like, oh, it's like a father that I need right now, like a genuine figure to him. And I was like, oh, that's just so depressing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was so much because the whole time I was like, this man treats him like shit, but it's all he has.
Yeah.
Oh, it really hurt.
Yeah.
And then the guy saw Kage on a wanted ad. So then he called, like, I don't know, maybe not called. I didn't think I saw a phone.
Ghostbusters.
But he let somebody know that he was hiding the unknown from Pokemon in his house.
Yeah.
And the entire, like, Royal Guard came to find him, and they chased after him. And they paid the guy handsomely for, like, outing this person from the Shadow Clan.
Yeah.
Or, like, alleged assassin. And, yeah, he was like, oh, I don't need you anymore. Like, I never needed you. And it's very sad. And then he dies.
Yeah.
Jeez. What a backstory.
What a backstory for the Black Shadow creature. So,
yes.
So
right?
that I was pulled in by that, just seeing like the trials and tribulations of this little shadow.
Right.
And what made me pull for him harder was around the same time this kind of backstory was happening, episode 2.
Yeah.
We meet more of Daida because Boji is training with like a swordsman.
Domas.
You know, she's training with the swordsman, and Daida's like, I want to fight Boji. And Domas is like, no, not yet, son. Boji needs time. He's like, I'll fight you then.
Yeah.
So Dodas and Daida have a fight, and it goes, I forget exactly what transpires there. But then next thing you know,
Domas like wins that fight, but he's like, Daida's pretty damn good, y'all.
And yeah, Daida gets angry as hell and wants to keep fighting, but then Boji grabs like the wooden sword.
Yeah.
So Boji and Daida start fighting, and that's what really spurs Kage into action, because he hears that and he just wants to make sure Boji's okay.
Yeah, because he's like, he follows Boji into the palace that day.
Yep.
Because he wants to allegedly steal more things and, you know, sell them and hawk them and for his own well-being.
But it's very clear he just wants to be closer to Boji.
Yeah.
Oh, it was sweet.
It's adorable because he's just in there watching now Boji fight Daida, and he's like, oh my God, Boji's going to fight? Let's go, Boji.
Yeah, he was chanting aside, let's go, Boji.
Like, wow, adorable.
So, but then Daida's, but it's crazy because this, I love it when stuff like this really plays into the characters. When their backstory, trials and tribulations play into combat in some variety.
Yeah.
Because it's very clear, Boji, since his entire communication is based on reading movements, he's a very good swordsman.
Yes.
Because he just dodges like hell and then nips people, kind of like, you know, gets like quick strikes in. But they keep saying like he doesn't have enough strength and like kind of like that nerve to hit really hit decisive blows.
He can't end the fight really.
He can defend himself.
He can defend himself very well. He can dodge. He dodges everything Daida does in the entire fight, which frustrates Daida and everybody else in the audience. It's kind of that classic moment of whoa,
exactly.
I didn't know that Boji could do this.
Exactly.
But then
anime high school locker room fights.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Any Dragon Ball Z fight.
Yes.
Ever.
Yeah.
And Boji is dodging all these moves, but exactly like what you said, he can't land any decisive blows because he like just kind of taps Daida.
Yeah, just a
little tap, and which pisses Daida off, but it doesn't exactly hurt him at all.
Yeah.
So Daida just keeps going, and Boji keeps dodging. And then, of course, Kage's on the side also saying, go Boji, and he's really excited. But then Domas at one point makes sign language to Boji.
Yeah.
And Boji gets really distraught. And apparently it's revealed afterwards that he said that your technique is a disgrace and unbecoming of a king. And wow. So Domas basically says to Boji that you have to trade blows with Daida in order to have an actual fight, like the way that kings fight.
Yes.
And this leads to Boji getting just knackered.
Yeah,
just
wrecked.
Messed up.
By Daida.
Oh my God. Daida's just big pointy dick nose just ruins Boji.
Also, yeah, Daida looks so stupid. I mean,
so stupid. They really make him easily hateable.
Look
at that boy.
That's the thing. That's why I laughed when you said the show is visually appealing, because I just thought of all the characters look so stupid. I'm just like, okay.
They do.
They just look dumb.
I love it.
No. Nice.
And yeah, Daida just beats the garbage out of Boji. And then at the end of the fight, they're like, oh my God, we need like a medical team to work on Boji right now. He just got murked.
So Boji's all taped up in like a hospital type bed.
Yeah.
It's just like a medieval version of that. It's just like a big wooden room.
Pretty much.
And then it's the same thing that they put Rio in Spirit Chronicles.
Rio!
Gonna keep bringing back my boy. So, but then at one point, Kage's like, I'm sticking by your side, Boji, no matter what. And then it's like, okay, this is our team.
Yep. This is our team of two. But it gets broken up pretty quickly after that.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's somewhere in the second or third episode around that time. So while Kage is in the palace, he's consistently running from this guy called Bebin.
Yeah.
Bebin is kind of Daida's lackey of sorts.
Yeah.
He's a swordsman with a big snake fetish.
Yeah.
And he kind of runs around the palace trying to...
He's a big old mustache that reminds me of a snake.
He does! And he uses snakes to attack Kage while he's in the palace.
Yeah.
So Kage's kind of running away from this guy at all times. But Bebin, being the snake edgelord, eventually corners Kage.
Yeah.
And kind of takes him away
Right.
from... Boji. And Boji obviously misses Kage like the day after he wakes up, which, by the way, the queen, Helena, whatever her name is, heals him.
Yeah, because apparently she was healing magic out of nowhere.
Just somewhere.
She just turned green and then healed him. Like, I didn't know that was
And
a
then
thing.
she just passes out.
Yeah.
Weird, but I guess we'll get an explanation on that. But
It's a redo of healer magic.
no, it is not, Rob. No, it is not. There is no magic like the redo of healer magic. Heal. Oh, God. I'm a broken man.
You were shaking when I mentioned that. If I remember the main character's name, I'd say it, but it was like 17 different things.
Why do is it something like Kaoru or something like that?
No, that was...
The name of the gray-haired man in Evangelion that was there for 2 episodes.
Yeah, that was Kaoru.
That Shinji almost made out with.
Yeah, that's Kaoru.
Ava Month!
Ava Month! Oh, yeah, that happened. Sweet.
No, Ano Month.
Auto Month, yeah. Oops.
It's okay, dog.
Mimi's in attack mode.
She's in attack mode. We mentioned redo of healer. But anyways.
You trained her well.
Queen heals Boji, and then Boji wakes up and Kage's gone. So Boji is thinking, well, Boji figures out where Kage went because... kind of where Kage went, because he kind of stumbles into like a snake temple under the palace or something with this giant like 5-headed snake is like, hey, Boji, remember that time you saved my life? And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And Boji just yells a few times.
Right.
And then the snake lord tells him, oh, yeah, they took Kage away. Like, you got to go find him and you can go on a journey to find him.
Right.
And Boji's like, cool. And he tries to get the queen, he tries to convince the queen all episode to basically let him go on this journey. But there's a little problem in the middle because the king dies.
He just croaks.
He just dies.
Yeah.
King Boss dies. And when he dies, there's a giant Satan devil.
Yeah, there's a black cloud that comes out of his mouth, and then Satan shows up and then leaves without any explanation.
It looked like him from Powerpuff Girls, and I was really into it.
Him.
And so that was just random. I'm sure we're going to get some explanation for that for the rest of the series. But
yeah.
So that happened. So now, obviously, they have to choose who the next king is.
Yeah.
And technically, bloodline-wise, it is Boji.
And it's crazy because in the king's will, he leaves it to Boji.
Yes.
But Helena says, nope.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go to a vote.
Yep.
I love the way they play it out here because they basically go to the commencement ceremony to announce the next king, and they announce Daida. And then they show the backstory
and then they explain.
Of the vote that happened because Helena vetoed the king's will, and they had a vote.
Mm-hmm.
It was 5-2.
Yep.
So 5 of them voted for Daida, 2 for Boji.
Yep. And Domus was one of the people that voted for Daida.
Yep. Ooh. Domus was a great undercover heel because you wanted to cheer for him, but they said nah.
Yeah, no, I think I had in my notes early on exactly verbatim. Domas is a true homie.
Yeah, true.
And then later in my notes, I drew an arrow to that comment, and then I just wrote nah.
The boy's a homie hopper.
He's a homie hopper. He flips sides.
Flip sides quicker than Big Show at any given point in his career.
I was also going to mention Big Show.
I knew it was on the tip of your tongue. I could feel it from here. I could see the tip of your... It's the Big Show.
And on the 3rd episode of this Big Show, Boji was obviously just absolutely floored by this. And Daida's now king. And Daida also talks to this weird mirror thing sometimes.
There's a black mirror that, like, it's saying, you will be king.
Yes. It's all going according to my plans, Daida.
Yeah.
Iota.
Yeah, it's the mirror from Snow White. I mean, it's just...
yeah,
I don't know how to describe
pretty
it.
much.
So, yeah, and then Boji pulls a Rio and says, I'm about to head out. So he literally...
I'm about to leave.
So he takes off his crown, he puts on his adventurer's garb, and like, I'm leaving. And then the queen's like, no, you're not leaving. Look, if you want to, go see my family. Here's Domas, Kage, and some other dude I have.
Yeah.
And that's the first time we meet him.
Yeah, because this other dude was watching the fight between Boji and Daida.
Yep.
And he was thinking the whole time, or he was saying to himself the whole time that, oh man, like, I can't believe Boji's this good.
Yeah.
So he probably wanted to go with Boji.
Yeah, exactly.
Like his first maybe follower of sorts for a kingship.
And it's great because now we have that kind of almost like a video game scenario of now the journey begins.
Yeah,
that's kind of where they leave the third episode on. It's like Boji's going to go on a little adventure and we'll see what happens.
Try to find Kage.
But there is the great underlying theme where Daida wants the two that sided against him to die.
Yes, that's right.
And then what's his name gets killed.
Bebin.
Bebin gets killed by one of the guys who voted for Boji.
Yes. I forget that guy's name, but he's like kind of bald. He has a big staff.
Yeah.
And he's
very no-nonsense, very loyal to the king.
Yes. He's very like noble, very loyal to the king.
And the read I got on it was he's just basically wanting to follow the king's wishes verbatim.
Exactly. He's not like, I guess that makes sense because he didn't really seem like a big proponent of Boji necessarily, but more of a proponent of
king's honor.
The king's wishes must be carried out.
So he kills Bebin, which was great because Bebin was obnoxious.
Pretty sick.
So that was a pretty cool moment. And that's really where it ends, and that's like the subtle intrigue going on in the background. There's this basically a political drama happening while Boji says, I want to go off and play. So that's the kind of the dichotomy of the story. We got Helena's all stuff. So we're left with a very interesting setup for the rest of this series. Very curious to see what they do with it.
Exactly. I think it really did put us in a good place after that third episode because it really set up the story nicely, set up the characters nicely, gave us a good, it's Queen Hiling.
Hiling. Okay.
Hiling.
Faith Hiling.
Faith Hiling. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it really set us up really well for the rest of the show. Yeah. Because now, or the rest of the season, because now we have, they're setting out for an adventure and we know what kind of to expect next.
Yeah.
At least in terms of what's happening, not in terms of what's actually going to happen.
But like all the options, there's so much variety there.
Exactly.
Which is really cool.
Which is cool. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the end of the sum up of the whole thing and the summary of the first 3 episodes. But Rob, what did you think about it? I recall you saying that you were kind of the first episode. You were like, okay, it's like cute, but like there's no real edge or anything. By the third episode, did you start to enjoy it a little more?
Oh, definitely did. I remember the only note I said during the first episode is, "I'm bored and this is dumb." Because it was so cute, and I didn't give it a chance at first. It was almost a little saccharine, almost a little cloying at some points because it seemed so sweet and sentimental.
Yes.
And the art style had a lot to do with me because the art style is inherently very cute.
It is very cute. Yeah.
So at first I was a little going like, all right, let's get something here.
Yeah.
Then the last 2 episodes, they really boost up the intrigue. And so for me, it's kind of like more like I guess you could say the Devilman Crybaby scenario where it's like the art style put me off originally.
I see.
But then I came around to it because I listened to the characters and I heard the story going on here. So I pretty quickly turned around. The Kage episode was the first one to really grab me.
Oh, yeah.
And then seeing all this intrigue around Boji. Because Boji's fun. It's a little annoying to keep hearing him wail the entire time.
Yeah.
That can get a little grating. But
it is a little grating.
But, I got to give credit to the show here. The first 3 episodes were really well constructed in terms of giving us a satisfactory arc. Actually, a few different satisfactory arcs.
Totally.
A few different introductions to these characters. And you know what? I had a good time.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I was emotionally invested, more so than I thought I'd be. So that was a nice surprise there. You know what? This show is just pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Pretty damn good. And in terms now, the question is, am I in or out?
Yeah. Are you in or are you out?
See, this one was really tough for me.
You going to continue or are you going to...
You know what? If you asked me by the end of episode 1, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. But now I'm so fucking curious. I'm going to give this a couple more episodes and see where I am.
All right.
Because this is just cool and fun. And, there's a couple of characters who are gripping me, and I want to see how those stories progress a little bit. I might get bored. I don't know. But for now, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, there you go.
So for now, I'm in.
That's good. Very good. So it was a good ranking of your kings.
This king ranked pretty well.
That's very nice to hear. That is very nice to hear. For me, I liked the first episode quite a lot. I definitely think after the first episode, I was like, okay, like I wasn't exactly bored with it or anything, and I did like the art style quite a lot. I thought it was cute, but like a nice cutesy kind of. And I was like, okay, I can get behind this. But I think when the second episode came, that was really the edge that I needed.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like, because at some point I was thinking to myself, is this a show for children?
Yeah,
because I mean it could be a show for children, and like that's fine.
It's still pretty age appropriate for anyone.
Sure, I think it's pretty age appropriate. But at a certain point, that when in the second episode you're seeing themes like, you know, like the vicious murder of a parent. You're seeing kind of like attachment to criminals. You're seeing like people trying to struggle for what they're worth, and you're seeing like some forms of like discrimination towards the Shadow Clan and stuff.
Right.
Okay, this had a little bit of edge to it now, and I'm kind of a lot more intrigued with this.
Yeah.
And then by the time the third episode came, when they said, and the new king will be King Daida, I went, so
for me, my reaction was a little different. It wasn't that. It was like, yeah, let's go. I was a little pumped. I'm like, all right, let's see how you guys got here.
Yeah.
I respect the road here. Let's see. Give me some more insight how we got here.
And I kind of like the delve into the politics of the kingship.
Yeah.
Very Game of Thrones-esque.
Definitely some
that
political.
one scene with Queen Hiling and all the other guys in the room voting and deciding on who's going to be the next king.
Yes.
Thought that was pretty cool and interesting, and I love the politics of it all. And I love the idea that they're going on an adventure now, and I think I'm definitely in.
Yeah.
It took me a lot. I was going to continue watching the next episode, actually, after I finished the third episode, but I had to move on to other things for the podcast instead.
Nice.
So I restrained myself, but I am happily going to continue. I really wanted to actually do the whole first season, but usually the seasons we do are like 12 episodes, and this one's like, I think 20 something, 23 maybe.
So we have 20 episodes left, so maybe let's just watch the whole rest of it and let's come back to it.
We totally could.
Let's do that.
The whole first season. I mean, we could even do that before the second season comes out, which I'm assuming is going to be sometime next year or something.
Let's do it. Let's just finish up the show. Ooh. Well, you hear here, folks. We're in the near future. Expect the rest of Ranking of Kings,
and we are 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, oh my god, what a rousing podcast of anime conversation. Am I right, my compares? Am I right, my weebdom? Anywho, yeah, you can send us a message if you want. Did you like this podcast? Did you hate this podcast? Do you want to kill me? Do you want to drench me in Calaxosaur blood and watch me drink it? That's fine. Just send us an email at badanimepod@gmail.com or DM us on our Instagram at badanimepod, all one word. You can also find us on YouTube as Bad Anime, and you can leave a comment on whatever video you want to leave a comment on. We'll read them all anyways. We don't care. I love you. Kiss, kiss.
Simple Equations Podcast Network.